Hello again, and welcome to PaintersBlock. I'm your host, Anthony Ryden, and today we'll be covering my blessed Blightkings armor and just my how I highlight the edges and kind of give it that blessed Nurgle grandfather approach, and just kind of make them a little bit brighter and more like they're powering up and having a little bit more oomph in their attacks. And here you can see my first one, my first test subject. I've been posting him around, and he looks pretty fun. I've seen this same model. I think Games Workshop actually has a similar type of scheme, but it's not as bright. And I also learned from one of my friends. I don't know what his tag is, but when he gets back to me, I'll let you know. But if you like that, maybe leave a like and follow us here on YouTube and Instagram, and hit that notification bell and see what else we got going on. We can go over his flesh tone and his power weapon and the rest from the Dirty Down in the next video. So the next part we're going to do is we're going to grab the Incubi Darkness and like a number 1 brush or whatever brush you prefer. I'm using this number 1 brush because this is a pretty nice point, and it just a really sturdy brush, so I can get all these hard edges a lot easier. So I'm going to go around with the Incubi Darkness and being very spacious with this and not really worried about how far I get on it, because it's going to dry pretty dark, blend in with the black primer that we started off with. Whatever black you want to start off with is the best approach. I wanted to make it a really dark, contrasting color. That way, when we have these boosted greens, yellows, and whites, it'll really pop a lot more, and his eyes also glow a lot more from that. So here we're going to go around with the Incubi Darkness, and I went around about twice, and you're just going to do the same thing with all the pieces of armor around his body. And each Blight King has a lot of different variations. Like you saw, the one before had a ton of armor, while this one really doesn't have as much armor. He's just like a big fleshy mutation. Which I just wanted to show you what we could do with the flesh tones, and what I wanted to do in the next video, and show you just like a little portrait of what we're gonna do in the next video, so you might have an interest. Or maybe you can let me know in the comments down below if you'd rather look at the power weapon next, or if you'd rather see the flesh next. Either way, I have them both ready for you. Oh, I'm just using this number 1 brush, and I'm really enjoying how I can just use this, how sturdy it is, just to put this all around. You don't need as fine a brush as you need for like maybe some really fine highlights or lining. This is just gonna be more to show some like details and like how you can make armor look a little bit more stylized, I would say, and just make it look like it's grandfather Nurgle's just powering you up, and it's so much of a power up it's even corroding your armor, and it just looks really fun. It also goes well with the weapon whenever you do these corroded, rusty weapons. Just seems to really pop well, and like gives you a good grandfather Nurgle aesthetic, so that you can go Maggotkin and join me at that AOS doubles tournament. Just making sure to go around and grab all these little areas and all the armor, anywhere the light's going to touch. Just that way, whenever you're looking at it and anywhere it's going to fade and you see all this green, you're also going to notice hints of blue. It's going to help go into the green. If you don't want to do that, you don't have to. This step is a little bit of if you like this little bit of blue to pop from just like the very, very low amount of light. It's okay, you don't have to do it. You can save a step by not even doing this, but I prefer it. So here you're going to grab a Kabalite Green, and this one's just like a nice mid-tone between our Incubi Darkness and these greens. It's a little bit brighter than what we're just working with, but it's going to lay down and dry darker, and you're going to see it's going to give us a really nice transition, and it's just a really, really cool color. I really like this color. It's fun, little off green, off blue, just very nice, very, very nice. How it suggests getting it. It also lays down pretty well. I didn't need to put too many coats. As you can see, it blends in pretty well. You're just going to put this around. Be very careful. Now, each of these steps we're going into, you're going to paint inside of the lines. Now, we've made our biggest area by using the Incubi Darkness, and that also acts as a guideline so that while we're painting, we know not to go past that point. So now that we have this set up, this is going to be our next guideline. So whenever we're going to be painting our next step, we won't go past wherever this reaches the most edge, where it reaches into the Incubi Darkness. And that's going to help us just kind of make this a little bit less brain work and more just fun. The next videos, I'm also going to be doing the Lord of Affliction, which is basically one of these guys riding a giant fly. I'm going to show you how to use the color shifting chameleon flakes to make him look like he's got those fly like color green like shiny shells. It's going to look really cool and really creepy. I think you guys are going to really like it. So for this next step, we're going to grab our AK Intense Green. And this is just a really nice vibrant green. I'm really liking this AK series. I just got the basic AK vibrant series where it just has all the pretty much primaries and their tertiaries and the secondaries, and it has very nice, a lot of pigment. The spreads pretty nicely. When I want to fade this into other colors, I've noticed this paint fades really nicely with just a brush compared to any other paint I've used. So I highly recommend this paint if you want to get into trying to get into these OSLs, or if you just want to have a nice paint that you don't have to thin as much, easy to work with. These are great, honestly. I'm really enjoying myself with these. So here you're just going to go around, you're going to put this all around inside of the edges. Like I said, you're going to go up everywhere we just went with the Kabalite Green. You're going to go up and not quite cover all that Kabalite Green. You're going to just go up till the very edge, leave a little bit. That way we're still leaving each of these layers that we're doing, and we're going to give off this faded effect, this lighting effect, all coming from the armor and just accenting our whole piece, giving him this really cool effect. That way when you're walking around the table and you're just looking around, people are going to notice your model just because of how contrasty and bright and dark it all looks at the same time. It's going to look great. I don't know if you know anything about Nurgle, but these guys are really fun. They're just these disease-infected guys, especially these Blightkings, that are just huge, and they have a lot of health, and they smack. They don't really do a lot of damage per se, but what they don't do in damage, they leave in diseases, so that no matter what, when these enemies leave, or even if they win the fight and they pop these guys, they usually leave with wounds happening. So they're just great damage over time and tanky boys. I love them for the game, and their lore as well is great. And also, this Moot Green is another really good paint. This is just the ultimate medium for greens. It makes things look really, really bright. It's just super vibrant color. If you want Moot Green, if you want your greens to start shifting into yellows, Moot Green's the one. If you want your yellows to start shifting into green, Moot Green's the one. It's a beautiful color, honestly, and I think it's hilarious. It's called Moot. It sounds like it's muted, but it's not. So here you go. You're going to grab your Moot Green, and you can do the same thing we've been doing, and it's going to take less and less each time, so you can see it's not really taking me very long. I think at first it took me about 4 minutes each step, and then as I went down, it started going down to like 3 minutes, and I was starting to get this all done really, really fast. So here you can see you just try to go up there and avoid covering everything you just did and just covering a little bit of it. And it'll really accent and pop everything and give you this like really nice fading out effect, almost like you didn't do it with the brush, just because of how many different paints we're using. It's a lot of paint, I understand, and if you guys don't like it, like I said, you can skip certain steps like the Incubi Darkness you don't need, but maybe some mid-tones, like you might not need the extreme green from AK, but I think those tend to boost it a little bit, so it's up to you, your preference. Those are two different paints you might be able to exclude from the mix and still have a pretty decent look, but this is still how I would prefer to do it. So as you can see, we're almost done with that, and that only took me about 3.5 minutes. In real time, I know I sped that up for you guys, and it's already looking really cool. But we're not quite there yet. We're going to brighten it up a little bit more with some AK Intense Yellow. And like I was saying earlier about Moot Green, it really goes into yellow very well. Now we're going to brighten up our greens with yellows and going into a brighter yellow and eventually into white, and it's going to make our greens look really extra red hot or white hot, and just give it more of a corrosive Nurgle-y vibe that we're really being imbued with power by Grandpa Nurgle and all his infectious diseases, and we're going to share his gifts with the world, especially at the Las Vegas Open this January 29th. I'm going to be doing the AOS doubles with my friend. He will be playing Seraphon, and this will be interesting having Nurgle and Seraphon together. Now they're not normally allowed to be together, but in the doubles event, we're going to be allowed to play any teams we want together. And this should be interesting. And if you want to come see us, come check it out. And I'd love to see you guys there. We're gonna be wearing a T-shirt with PaintersBlock on it. So if you see us, give us a heads up, and I'd love to say hi and just get a chat with you guys, see what you guys got. So here you can see I'm going over each of the fingers, and these fingers are super cool. And this kind of goes into, we want to use these highlights more so to accent the angles, the curves, the spikes, the fingers, little things, whatever would help accent our model's robustness, or just like the basic details that look so cool on it. Like, look at him, that looks so cool just being able to see his hands. So now we're going to accent that even more with some moon dust. And this is from Army Painter. It's a really good one. I haven't really found a nicer, brighter white from these other series quite yet. I'm still going through. I have a lot of paint to go through still. But this one's just a really nice consistency. And I really recommend it because it's just a nice bright white to go for bright yellow to go from that intense yellow and these greens into the white spectrum, just to make this fade that makes it a little bit brighter, a little bit nicer, and a little bit easier on the eye. And you don't have to actually pre-mix, and make sure you know exactly what you mix with your yellow to make it that nice pale yellow. This just helps you do it for yourself. I recommend it, and it just saves you a lot of time. And we're going to do the same thing we've been doing with everything else, just accenting details, going around, edge highlighting everything. But you don't have to do everything in this part. Now that we're getting brighter and brighter, you can start accenting only the parts you want to really accent. So like you can start heading into only doing the angles, only doing the sharp things, only doing the fingers. Whatever you want your model to look extra stylized and accented in, you can do in this step right here, and it's really fun. Everything else you kind of want to do everywhere, but here you can build up those brightnesses in certain areas just by only doing this in those areas. Now we're heading into the last step, and this last step Bob Ross would like because we are using his favorite, titanium white. Now this is just a great white. It's very bright. This one in particular is a kind of a toothpaste consistency. Not super easy to work with all the time, but in this case I kind of like it because I need to just make sure it went where I wanted to place it. But otherwise there's some other whites that are probably better than this exact tube. But also I have such a huge tube of this titanium white, I am dead set on finishing this tube of white and figuring out how long it lasts maybe. So far it's been about a year. So here we go. I'm going to go around and I'm just grabbing each of these little areas like around the horns and around the edges of his armor, especially around the elbows and his fingers. I'm just trying to accent anything I want to look extra like hot and corroded, and just bring your eye to it. And especially with like the bones right there, I have such a nice dark bottom to the bones that having something so bright next to it is going to really accent it. And like most miniature artists will tell you, contrast is going to be your biggest friend. Anything that adds contrast is going to make your model look a little bit more realistic, a little bit more fun. People are going to look at it when they walk around the table. And we all know we love it when people walk around as we're playing our game and they look at your models and go, wow, that's so cool. Did you paint that? You can go, yeah, I painted that. Because and this is not a hard painting scheme at all. Anyone can do this. You can easily do this. It's fun, easy, no airbrush necessary. I used 1 to 2 brushes the entire time. I think I only used the 1 brush the entire time. So I hope you enjoyed yourself, and please stop again sometime, and we're going to do some more Blightkings pretty soon, getting ready for the Las Vegas Open. Thank you so much, and I hope we helped you break your painter's block.